Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to War Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing a discussion over Peacemakers, Horror of War, by Snowdale Design, and they must have a thing for animals, because I think every single one of their games are anthropomorphic animals, which is fine. It's actually a theme that I enjoy quite a bit. It gives it like a lighthearted charm, especially in a game about animals butchering each other as different tribes in a war. Now what's fascinating about this game is you're actually playing the middlemen trying to get both armies to kind of quit killing each other. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily that, though. That's how I originally thought of it, but it's like you can win scenarios, and sometimes, in this case of the game we just played, wanted, or almost kind of needed some people to die. Because the wars feel so, like, lopsided. It's like, okay, these are highly aggressive. If we don't do anything to stop them, then they're just going to rush forward and kill all the other, kill the weaker army. So it's like, so you spend a lot of time helping and aiding the other side to give them an advantage, but not too much of an advantage, because then if they start gaining traction, then it's like, oh, now we can't stop them. And that was always kind of an interesting concept. So, Brad, what did you think of Peacemakers?
I actually liked it better than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Just because when I first saw it set up and all that stuff, it looked kind of basic a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the way the game started, it was a slow start.
Yes.
Just until you kind of figured out the cards and like the rhythm of the game.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Because in terms of rules, it's very straightforward.
Right.
But it immediately becomes really thematic, and each army kind of has their own like traits about them. And I agree with you. I was kind of like at the beginning going like, is this going to be just kind of like we have actually no control over what these armies do? We just randomly try and do things to stop them and hope it pans out. And then it evolves into, okay, we know exactly what these armies are about. Here's how we can try and stop them. Here's the cards we need. And I found that to become quickly appealing. So what do you think of like, because you were saying it was a slow start at the beginning, like, what do you think, like, what happened for you that made it where it's like, oh, all right.
I think just once we started, because I was kind of like getting it figured out, the whole nearby keyword, like, and knowing that a lot of these things you can only do if you're in the same spot as the deal. So once we kind of figured out what side we were going to be going towards. Yeah. Because I kind of stayed in the middle for a little while. I didn't move a whole lot. You went over to the ocelots, and I was like, well, I decided I'm going to go over to the birds. And then we started messing with their decks and being able to manipulate them, shove people back, do different things like that. It kind of made it kind of interesting.
Yeah, and what's fascinating about that is because the sides that you decide to help are going to be based off your character's strengths. Because what's cool and kind of weird is all players, if you're playing with 2, 3, or 4, share the same resource deck. And on every card, it's like, hey, you can do this, but if you happen to be this character, it's a better effect. But it's like you're not always guaranteed to get that. Like if we need someone to be healed, like as a chameleon, I can heal people, but I'm not near any of the damaged units, but you draw the card, it's kind of like, shit. Well, I guess I'll heal them for less. I guess I'll give them the primal shitty health potion. But it's like, oh, okay, if I happen to draw that, or we have a way to be able to trade cards, then now I can do it. But I found it kind of cool because the chameleon has cards that are like, hurry up, increase speed. And we quickly found out in this game that, the ocelots are probably never going first. We kind of need them to go first. So my hurry up card in this particular scenario is really high value to help the ocelots.
Right.
And we even found a situation where at one point we needed the macaws to go first, but I wasn't over there.
Right.
I think the nearby keyword, which is only 2, like at least on the player aid, there's nearby and ongoing.
Right.
Is weird. Because you normally think nearby is adjacent.
Right.
At least I do.
Yeah, that's how I took it when we first started playing. Was I thought it was gonna be like it, yeah.
But by having to actually be in a position with a unit, and it could be shitty because it's like if they act in a way that is not what you were expecting, that it's like, okay, well the cards that I was gonna use next turn are actually not helpful because they did this. Mm-hmm. Like we had a situation in this game where we're like, okay, I think we win. Like I think they got it, and then because we're like the Ocelots are gonna kill that unit, and that's gonna be enough to cause them to go down into the green, and then and that'll be that. And then they drew their revoked card, and it's like, oh, they're not doing anything actually.
Yeah.
So they're
and they lost some motivation.
Yeah, then they lose motivation, and actually the Macaws gained one. So that's neat. How are it's like, I really like that. It becomes kind of a puzzle. More and I find myself loving combat games as puzzles,
right.
way more than just actually moving units and chucking dice. And apparently each scenario has a challenge. We had to have it to where the Macaws lost to everyone but their leader, and we were almost at it to where the Ocelots weren't going to lose anyone, but they ended up did because of the unexpected nature of the orders. But apparently you can do each scenario where no one dies.
That's not how you do it.
At least in this scenario, I can see how you could do it. It just seems very long. Like, again, the Macaws are all about their leader, so that means that if you get it to where he's sick, he's shitting his pants from food poisoning, then that's drawn, they lose 2.
Yeah, but these guys, anytime an attack card strike would come up, if they don't kill anything, they lose motivation. So
That's it. That's the thing. Yes, because then there's revoked over here. So it feels like you almost pretty much make it to where they never kill a macaw, and they're revoked, and then you cycle their revoked out. So the only time they're losing motivation is if they get sad because they didn't kill anyone. Or the random one where it's like you roll a die and then it's 1 to 7, they lose 1. 8 to 12, they gain 1. It's fascinating. It's such a unique game that I would never have thought would ever work.
Right.
Do you have any negatives?
I don't think so. I was trying to think of that because, I don't think there was anything. Discarding like the only action that lets you discard a card to go is the whatever they call that, the orders.
Delegate.
Delegate. That was kind of weird, but I mean it makes sense too once you get the hang of it.
Yeah, it's like a delegate is like you play that as an action to
Right.
give another card to someone.
But
because they even tell you at the beginning of the rulebook, it's just like, hey, surveying is really powerful, but it's pretty much just going to burn a card because almost no card gives you a delegate or a survey and a draw.
right.
And I love that. That's the thing, like about this game that's also really nice is there's no turn order.
Right.
Like
You
you play and you can move around, draw. Like, hey, I'm gonna draw, see what I get. Because you're trying to cycle through the deck to be like to hopefully get what you want.
But I don't really know if there is any like big glaring negatives.
Yeah,
Say.
mine would be. There's 6 scenarios.
Yeah.
So it's all organized really well inside this box, which is great. The only expansion I think was more horror cards, but like it's like, okay, you have 6 scenarios, which is like, man, I kind of wish there were more. But at the same time, each scenario has a challenge,
Right.
and a difficulty ranking. So it's like you have the Order and Chaos. The first one is a 1-star. Lose. Number 2, 3 and 4 and 5 are 2-star difficulties, and then the last one is 3-star difficulties. That's their base. But then each one of them has the no casualties, try and beat it without having anyone die. And then they all have different other ones that increase the star difficulty. Like, for example, the first one, Order and Chaos, is, okay, you just win. Like, that's the first thing you do. Then try and have no one die. Then Timid Invasion increases the difficulty by 2. So it's a 3-star difficulty. Macaws, who typically start at 9 motivation, start at 2. And the Ocelots, who start at 7, start at 10. So, I mean, one, like you could lose with the Macaws if they get their revoke, and then, or in their next one if it isn't a strike.
Right.
And they're impatient. It's like, well, I guess they just gave up. And then Bad Memories is after dealing starting hands, you shuffle 8 random horror cards into the resource deck.
I think one of the best decisions they made with this game was just putting everything on the book.
I agree.
Having the map, the dashboard for the armies, and everything. Just flip a page, go.
Yeah.
The setup is super simple. You just throw a few figures out.
Yeah.
And shuffle the decks.
Yeah, like it's such a condensed game, which is so nice with some depth. And I think that's what's lost a lot now, because especially with crowdfunding and all that, is you rarely get like, it's like, this is the game. This is it. I don't have 18 different boxes back there with 15, with 2 factions per box.
Right.
And I guess now that I think about it, these are just the scenarios. But is there any reason why you couldn't just pick random book pages? Because it's like,
I don't know.
And nothing in
How would they match up? Like the art.
That's a good question. I don't. Probably not. Yeah, now that I think about it. So like, I gotta. Here's the problem with the books.
Well, I'm sure they didn't make it. They didn't have that in mind.
I know.
It's like, somebody's wanting to flip the page.
Yeah. No. Boo.
Yeah. That's why I was curious. I mean, you could technically, but I mean, it doesn't. It would lose.
It doesn't look. Oh, and not really, because then it's macaws and macaws. Make them fight each other. See, that's something that I would have liked to see. Is like have the scenarios be structured in a way. But then if you want to have like the Toko toucans fight the ocelots, you could
go to the very back page real quick. After the 6 scenarios, is there just like a blank generic setup?
No.
Okay, that would have been what was cool. It's like if they just had one page, it was just like.
Oh yeah, it's
no faction stuff, just general. Had all of them at 3. 3 in the green and stuff, and just
right. Yeah, because it just goes up to 6. These are just 6 pages. So that's something that I would have liked to see. I mean, because all of their other games, Dale of Merchants is literally just pick factions to play that game,
right.
And shuffle them together. Here, it would have been kind of nice to just have. It's like, oh well, I've done all the scenarios. I've done all of the. I've done all the challenges. Then it's like, well, don't really have anything left to do in the game, but that's not even a problem for me because I'm never gonna play this game enough to ever do all of that. But the challenges for this actually seem fun.
Right.
Like, they don't feel like they're difficult just for the sake of being difficult, or they're more thematically tied, which is neat. I don't really have any negatives either, honestly. Like, I thought it was gonna be we're so reactive the entire time, but you quickly get into a rhythm of like, who do we survey? Like, which cards do we use to survey? Because that's gonna help us, kind of dictate what they're gonna do. But you can only do so much, so you kind of have to rely on some randomness and hope it plays out. But you can't just have them do whatever they want, because then it's like, well, that faction gets completely annihilated and crumpled in on itself. So they lost and gave up, and we lost. It's cool. It's a cool game, and I don't really think it doesn't seem to. Now I'm curious on what you think of this. In a 2-player game, every time you draw at the end of the round, you even it out. So it's like I get 2, you get 2.
Right.
3-player game, one person,
How many cards would come out?
4.
Oh, so
It's always 4.
split.
So one person gets 2 and one person gets. So in a 4-player game, everyone's only getting 1 card.
Right.
What do you think of that?
Seems kind of limiting.
Yeah, that seems like you're.
Because if you're spending your cards to do it, I mean that lowers your amount of actions. But you still have 4 people taking actions.
Right.
So, I mean it's fine. It just seems like it wouldn't be as fun.
Yeah, because the actions go further because that means everyone is available to get the special power.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, to be able to do a lot of stuff on your turn, you would have to kind of just wait and hold on to your cards and not play for 3-4 rounds. And it's like, finally, I get a hand of cards.
Right. Well, you'd never be able to delegate right after one turn if you only had 1 card.
Right.
Too, since you have to spend a card.
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder what most people say as like.
I bet it's a 2.
I really, yeah.
2, I bet 2 has to be because one person each side dealing with the stuff.
Yeah.
I'd be
Best
shocked.
1 to 2.
Yeah.
Uh,
Small board. This would be a solo type game too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like.
Because then you just get all 4 cards. Or actually, no, you'd have to do 2 cards still.
Yep.
But you'd still just play it
Yeah.
two-handed.
So 25% say this game just came out, but it's like 2 people say not recommended at 4. 6 people say they recommend it at 4, but it's no one's saying it's best at 4. I just the 4 cards for 4 people. It's like, okay, well, guess none of us are really doing anything. Yeah, I agree. I think this is more of a 1 to 2 player game.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's clean. Everything's condensed. It's a small footprint. There's a lot of depth. The puzzle is really neat. Even if you don't like, I could just do this base scenario again and still have fun. And it's like, okay, I've done the base one enough. Now let's add in, one of the. And the cool thing is, it's like, okay, so each scenario has those 2, like the timid invasion and bad memories. It's like, oh, you want to make it more difficult? Do both. You want to make it a 5-star difficulty? Now you have to win. The Macaw started at 2, Ocelot started at 10, and you have 8 horrors in the deck. And what do you think of the horrors?
I never was affected by them, so I don't know.
Joe, that's true. It was always me. My chameleon bitch ass. Sees one bird die, and he's just like,
There's a big old stack of them for not really...
that is the one expansion.
Yeah.
Is to add a little bit more memories.
Because they only come out when a unit's killed.
Yes.
So...
Yep. And I was affected by them. I like them. I think they add theme to it because it's like, well, we're not warriors.
Right.
So if we walk in and we're just like, okay, so if like we're going to talk to the macaws and it's like, all right, so I think we're a little hot-headed and an arrow flies into his head. And it's just like, oh my god! And then I have the shakes. And I'm like, yeah, and they don't seem like insanely debilitating. It's not like you reduce a faction's motivation by 5. They don't do anything stupid like that. It's kind of like this one, self-doubt. It's like, hey, when I go to use a card's ability, I roll a die. 1 to 3, it doesn't do anything, but this card goes away. And 4 to 12, I still get to do it. So there might be a chance where it's like, we really need to use a card, but then I'm like, oh, do we really need to use it? It adds theme. And as we just talked about with another game, theme, it greatly enhances the game.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Like, love the production. Love the quality. This game is definitely one to check out if you're... This is a game for people who hate, like, war theme.
Right.
Like, it's like the perfect, like, oh, no, we're actually stopping war. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give Peacemakers?
I think I'm going to slide in at a solid 7.
7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Mhm.
I like it. Don't think I'll get it, even though I'm a solo player type. But I don't know. I mean, like anthropomorphic stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, isn't my favorite in the world.
They make you feel weird down there.
Well, no, it's just like
you're a furry
you know,
and behind the
and
scenes
stuff like that. I mean, it was a great game. I mean, that's why it's a 7. I just,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if this is kind of your theme and stuff like that, then yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No. You know, it's actually interesting. Is I completely understand where you're coming from. It's because I'm kind of thinking of like this is a very niche game, like. But this is almost like it was fun. It was immediately, well, not immediately because it was a slow kind of start once you kind of are trying to figure out how the armies, which thematically makes sense. You're like, okay, we just showed up. Okay, they're hyper aggressive. Those guys have no idea what they're doing. They're about to be slaughtered. You kind of suss out the situation. But again, it's a weird thing to get used to.
If this would have been armies like you know like the Spartans and the whatever, and you had people trying to do that would be more appealing to me just because of the theme.
I agree. It for some reason the animals make this theme make more sense.
Right.
I don't know why, because it's like, oh man, let's try and go talk the Nazis out of attacking. Okay. It's like, okay, well, that's not really going to happen. But at the same time, this feels like I could just immediately. I just love the cohesion and conversation of trying to figure out who to use, how to use what, and in a 2-player game, we both feel like we're helping. Or if it's like, no, right now you're in the best position to do stuff. I'm going to help you out in as many ways as possible. But I kind of see where the trepidation of like, yeah, I don't really need to own this. Like, I don't know. Like, I get that. I'm going to give it an 8.
Mm-hmm.
I do really like it. And just for me, even though in no way, shape, or form am I ever like gonna max out this game, am I ever gonna play every scenario at every difficulty, I still wish there was more.
Right.
Which is just like so shitty to think about. Like, oh, only 6 scenarios? Well, there's actually 4 games you can play with just one scenario, so there's actually 24 different games. Only 24?
Well, I think you've gotten used, because a lot of games like this will think of like Leviathan and Wilds and stuff like that. When they have the flip book, there's a lot of different creatures. And
yes,
this one
exactly.
just has 6 deals,
but,
so it's kind of,
Exactly. But I mean, with Leviathan Wilds, they went and got more, and this game just came out, so I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't support it, you know? Which I'd be right there.
It'll be Peacemaker Horrors of War.
Oh, like the actual horrors? Yeah. You're trying. It's a new card.
Street game.
It's just like, hey, instead of going to war, why don't you have sex with these slutty minxes?
Flamingos with like strippers and stuff.
These sexy cats. But that's the thing is, their Dale of Merchants game has so many different factions. Like, these are all well, actually, I don't think they are. The Macans and the Ocelots are factions in Dale of Merchants. I think that there are Toucans, but they have so many factions that there's no way they could not support this.
Right.
Like, if they just use their own factions. So maybe not, but this is definitely one, because knowing me, it's like I'm going to show someone new how to play the game, and it's gonna be the first scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think this game was great. I enjoyed it a lot. So, that's it. Oh, and the backstory. There's a backstory, and then every scenario has a quick paragraph of text. There isn't a novel of subpar writing. I was like, man, I'm kind of already invested as to who the factions had personality, which is very neat. Which is why I don't think the Spartans or whatever. That wouldn't really work for me, even though there is a shit ton of history behind all of that. But I know you're a history major, right? What was it? That was like 60 years ago when you graduated. Not quite. But yeah. So you got anything else? Nope. All right. Well, that's our thoughts on Peacemakers: Horrors of War. Oh, the O and the of is a peace sign.
Oh yeah.
Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.